Okay, you ready to go now? Hello again, I'm Bob Weir with another interview of people in the news in North Texas. My special guests today are David and Peter Stewart, who will talk about the Stewart family's background and their connection to the 150-acre Lakeside development. Here I have Scott Tarwater, president of New Stream Hotels and Resorts. On my left I have Grapevine Mayor William Tate. And right over here we have Tony Jeary, who is the owner of Results Center here in Lakeside in Flower Mound. So I want to thank you gentlemen for meeting with me here in this beautiful Results Center. I have the pleasure of and the honor of talking with some of the most distinguished families in the history of North Texas. And I'm thrilled to be doing the interview right here at this beautiful Results Center. We're at 2591 Lakeside Parkway. And of course, this is Tony Jeary's international headquarters. I want to begin with Scott Tarwater. Let me begin by asking you to give our viewers some background on your family's ownership of the Lakeside property starting back in 1890.
Thank you, Bob. Well, number one, it's a privilege to be here with all of these gentlemen and the Stewart family and Mayor Tate. Bill, what an honor. Thank you for coming. And Tony, thanks so much for hosting us in this beautiful facility. Well, Bob, my family originally settled in the Tarrant County, Fort Worth area in the 1885 area as they migrated in this area from Tennessee. Then, as fate would have it, they found this fertile farmland just north of Grapevine, which is now Lakeside DFW, and assembled 400 acres to begin with, and then added to that parcel. So, in 1890, they settled what is now known as Lake Grapevine. And we farmed all of that land for many years, depending upon the cash crop of its time. I started my career baling hay and picking tomatoes. And then, all of a sudden, the Army Corps of Engineers showed up and said, oh, by the way, this was in 1948, we're beginning condemnation for your family farm, and we're going to begin the development of Lake Grapevine, which Bill's father, Gordon Tate, had a very big part of, and Mayor Tate will get into that process in a moment. So, flash forward, my family built a beautiful two-story white home, as many of you have seen, and we'll talk about it getting preserved and moved to Grapevine in a minute. So our family compound started with that home built in 1905. From that, to the southern end, over the peninsula, was my uncle, Tuck Lister, and my aunt, Genevieve, and then my grandmother and my grandfather had the other home there. So that was our family compound. Army Corps of Engineers dammed up Denton Creek, 1953. The lake filled up almost overnight. Mayor William D. Tate placed the first bass, largemouth bass, in Lake Grapevine.
You remember that, Mayor?
Of course.
You bet.
And which is chronicled.
He wasn't mayor then, though.
That's right.
I was only about 8 years old.
Right.
Was it a big one?
No, they were about like minnow size,
Yeah.
about 2 inches long.
And Mayor and I were street urchins on Main Street for many years. I know his father knew that we needed a lot of help growing up, which we did, but anyway, we made it. They put this beautiful amenity in our backyard known as Lake Grapevine. So I got up every morning and either got on my horse or my bicycle and had the
Right here on this property, right here.
absolute life of Riley. And just right down here, Tony, on Joe Roach's family property was our skinny dipping hole.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, hot summer day, just like this, we were skinny dipping. So,
You better watch it, Bob.
flash forward, 43 years ago, this month, my beautiful bride Donna and I got married on the third step right in front of the house.
Wow.
So our family history, my father passed away there. My mother called me, said, Scotty, you got to come over. I did. My dad's laying there. First person I called in the world was Bill Tate. Bill said, Scotty, I got it covered. Don't worry about it, which he did. So over the ensuing years, we met a gentleman, a landman, kept coming out, and his name was Gifford Touchstone. And Gifford would come out and meet with my family and myself and my parents. And he said, gentlemen, I represent Peter Paul Stewart. And I said, what's a Peter Paul Stewart? He said, well, you're getting ready to meet him. Sure enough, David and Alan's father show up, and we're sitting on the front porch of the house having some tea, Bob. And Peter Paul Stewart says, Scotty, let me tell you about my vision. So my mother, my Aunt Ruby, myself, my dad, Peter says, you know, I've been out here dove hunting, which Mayor Tate has been out there many times with my Uncle Hubert, hunting quail and dove. He'll tell you about that in a minute. So he said, here's my vision. As you know, I've worked on Thanksgiving Square in downtown Dallas, and I brought all the great religious leaders into Dallas from around the world. And by the way, the United Nations honored him for doing this. So he said, my vision here on this property, if you would ever sell it to me, is, and then he started his high-rise.
This is your dad. Your dad.
$24.99, on and on and on. And I'm sitting there as a teenager going, man, this is the Wizard of Oz. Where did he come from?
Now, you weren't a teenager.
Yeah, I was in my 20s. So anyway, flash forward, ensuingly, so many times I had the pleasure to meet with Peter Paul Stewart in his waning years. His crystal clear vision for Lakeside Village and the ensuing property never wavered and never changed. Even though, Bob, so many people went.
Yeah, amazing, yeah, your vision, yeah, amazing. That.
So he was, and then he started his vision of $24.99 because, you know, Flower Mound didn't exist really, and it was only a goat trail from our property up to the Menace shop up here. That was it. No buildings.
How did he get that vision?
Well,
Part of it was the flood in 1984 that closed Long Prairie Road and closed the spillway, and as a result of that, they began to look at a more dependable way north, and so it was apparently it was Albert Half and Associates, a civil engineering firm that recommended. Albert Half apparently said, if you know, the guy you need to talk to is Roy Wilshire at Kimley Horn, and he's the best road guy in Texas. And so they enlisted Roy's help, and Roy decided to propose a route that he didn't think my father would go for because it didn't go through this property, except for a little teeny bit over here. And so when Gifford Touchstone and Marvin Springer, the planner, and Roy proposed this plan, my dad said, "This is fantastic. This is just what the area needs." And although it bisects the property in a small piece, that's fine. That's all it needs. And so they moved forward with the plan. Of course, the biggest part of the $24.99 story was the